got some stuff I want to get out of my system today regarding Evgeni Malkin on a lot of levels. And I have a feeling some of it's going to rub a few people the wrong way, and honestly really don't care compared to what the subject matter is. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. The Penguins are hitting the road later today. They'll end up in St. Louis, where they're going to begin a 3-game road trip, the last significant trip of their season. That'll be the Blues there tomorrow night, the Stars in Dallas on Saturday, the Blackhawks the next night in Chicago. Geno might or might not be available for any of those. Obviously doesn't matter much in any direction, but it wouldn't hurt to have him back out there for a bunch of reasons, not least of which is that you'd like to see him get a chance to get acclimated with the new kids that just arrived and everything else. Also, it's Geno. You want to see him playing. You want to see him finish his career strong. That's not going to be this season. It might be next season. It might be the season after that, although that would require having an extension, not to mention having him play beyond the age of 40. Geno is currently 38. He's going to turn 39 on the 31st of July. And again, Geno's contract is up after next season. There are some spectacularly stupid misconceptions about where he is in his career, so I want to set the groundwork there first. Here's another. He's still a tremendous value to the franchise, not in any sort of sentimental capacity either. I mean, there's some of that, but I'm just talking about from the hockey standpoint. Think of it this way. If out of nowhere, the Penguins signed somebody for $5 million a year out of free agency, and you didn't ever hear this name before, who's this Evgeni Malkin guy? And he was, let's just say, somebody who's 27, 28 years old. He comes in for $5 million, and over his past 3 seasons, he gets you 83 points in 82 games, 67 points in 82 games, and this season, 46 points in 62 games. Now, he has missed 12 games this season, so his numbers aren't going to look anything like his career norms. But he's still come up with 15 goals, 31 assists. He hasn't been on the top power play anywhere near as much as he'd been in the past. In fact, he's been on the second unit for more than a month now. He's lost almost all of his wingers. And think about this. The Penguins trade away Jake Gensel. What do? They do the same thing they've always done, which is load up Sid's line. There's no secret about this. There's no one who tries to make a secret about this inside the Penguins world. Mike Sullivan once told me, the first thing I do when I show up in the morning to coach either a game or a practice is I think to myself, what's the best possible thing for Sidney Crosby? And he should never have to say, I'm sorry for that. And by the way, Geno has no problem with that either. Sure, Geno would love to have Brian Rust and Rickard Rakell, but that's not the way it went. Jake's traded, Rakell moves up to the top line, Rakell scores 1 million goals, Sid does great, Rusty does great, and Geno's out there with, Anthony Beauvillier and Connor Dewar and Michael Bunting most of the season, a whole lot of Phil Tomasino. Not taking a shot at those guys, I'm just underscoring the difference between what Geno's gotten and what Sid's gotten. And Geno has still been productive. He has still put up points. He has still provided second center value. Use that word again here on purpose. Value. And on top of all of that, he's not blocking anybody. If Tommy Novak hadn't gotten hurt right away after the Penguins acquired him from the Predators, that might have represented the first real case of either Sid or Geno blocking a younger player. But Novak blocked a shot, went down. This was in St. Paul, Minnesota, and there he goes. You still don't have, really in the organization, centers in a position to challenge Sid or Geno. So if I ever sound like I really bite back on the subject of Geno in any form holding this process back, sticking with the old guy, trying to be sappy about it, this is why. The facts, the ice cold facts, don't bear it out. And I don't think that's going to change next year. I don't think that argument can be altered for the 2025-26 season because all of that'll still apply. Rutger McGroarty, Ville Koivunen, Tristan Brose, Sam Poulin, go right down the line here, and you're not talking about centers. If Vasily Ponomarev breaks through, I still don't know that you're talking about a top 6 type of center. So, is Geno coming back? Yes, he'll be back. Is Geno going to be welcome back? Hell yes. And again, not just because there's going to be a few more milestones and presentations and stuff. All of that's a non-issue now. It'll be a non-issue then. And as far as when he's actually done, we'll see. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Adam, who says, DK, I have followed you back to your Cub reporter days at the Post-Gazette, but this is one road I cannot go down with you. Fool us once. Shame on you, Tristan Jarry, but fool us for almost a decade? Jarry plays well when there's zero pressure, and with his team out of a playoff spot this year, he's got these exhibition games to excel in. He blew it when they got to 6 points behind in the wild card chase, and he will blow it again if he ever gets to the playoffs with the Penguins again. Adam, first thing I have to say is thank you for the long-standing support. Second thing I have to say is, since you've been following me for that long, you'll also know that one thing I will commonly come back at people with, gratefully, respectfully, you might want to listen to yesterday's episode again, because that's what you're referring to. You're making it sound as if I have declared that Jarry is back and that everybody should believe in him. I said the polar opposite. Now, you're not the only one to respond this way, because I raised the subject, I posed the question, but I also said there's no way any sane person can accept what he's done to date since his return in St. Paul and say, yep, here he is. What I did say was that it would be prudent on the Penguins' part to open up entirely their goaltending competition in the next training camp between Jarry and the two youngsters, while basically leaving Alex Nedeljkovic cast in a backup role. Or if Jarry ends up being the backup, then trading Ned, who would be not difficult at all to move. That's it. That's as far as I took it. I didn't ask you or recommend that you embrace the new Jarry and the official grand era of Jarry's greatness. Didn't do anything of the kind. I do, however, want to push back on one aspect of what you sent here, and it's that Jarry plays well when there's zero pressure. Jarry has not played well for the most part in playoffs. He hasn't had a wealth of experience in the playoffs either. He's had a couple of unfortunate series with the Islanders, but you're correct if you're saying that he hasn't handled the playoffs well. The part that I don't agree with you here at all, actually, is that there's zero pressure right now. I've been privy to seeing and hearing some things about the calendar year that Jarry has had, being exiled, and that's probably the right word for it, to Wilkes-Barre not once, but twice. And the second time was essentially just go away, don't be seen or heard. They didn't say that, of course. I'm just saying that was kind of the feel of the whole thing. It was indefinite. And then not only does he get demoted, but he ends up spending a lot of time down there in the AHL, just sitting and watching the other goaltenders play. So even when he comes back up, and I don't know how many people realize this, but when he was brought back for that game in St. Paul, first off, they didn't use him right away. You'll remember they stuck with Ned. 2-3 starts it might have been. And that's because in Jarry's 3 starts in the AHL, before he was brought back, he'd given up 16 goals. Nothing had changed about his script. Nothing. He was still just sieving it up down there. And that had Mike Sullivan and everybody here scared out of their minds to put him into an NHL game. But Ned was struggling. They're on the road. They're facing Marc-Andre Fleury. It looked like Ned wasn't going to get anywhere in that game, so Sullivan made the decision that day, I was told when I was there, that he was going to go with Jarry. And Jarry turned in one of the 2 or 3 best goaltending performances of the season for this team. I'm here to tell you, Adam, having been there, having experienced a lot about this firsthand, that was not a zero pressure situation. That was Jarry fighting for his NHL life. And I'm going to take it further because then a couple more games happened. And then the loss to the Islanders happened, the one that you describe as saying he blew it when they got within 6 points. He didn't. The Penguins blew that game against the Islanders. Jarry's had one bad performance since he's been back up, and that was the one in Buffalo last week. That's it. But even then, he gets bombed in Buffalo. It was terrible in Buffalo. I'm not sitting here trying to come up with narratives. But then he goes out and faces the Senators. When everybody's feeling really good about the Penguins calling the kids up, they're feeling good for Sid and the record. It's a home game after a kind of tough trip. The Senators are a playoff team, and he wants to show that he can bounce back from adversity because that is really a thing that comes with a lot of worth in hockey. They always want to see how you handle failure, whether that's long-term failure or a single game failure. And he was fantastic against Ottawa. He was every bit as good against Ottawa as he was against Minnesota in his first game back. So you don't have to do anything. Hey, you say here, this is one road I cannot go down with you. I'm not asking you to, Adam. You're entitled to your own stance on this. I'm sharing with you mine. I appreciate the question again, and I appreciate you and your support. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to have another one of these tomorrow.